starting out, just give me your full name and tell me the tribal nations you're a citizen of.
I'm, my name is Vicki Lynn Glass Jones. I'm O-Gah-Pah, Seneca, Cayuga, Cherokee.
Excellent. Kind of walk me through just some ancestry, your lineage, and feel free to go back as far as you want, but just give me some brief points of where you come from, your mother's side, father's side, wherever you want to go with it. But tell me some of your ancestors up the line.
My father's side, unfortunately, we weren't that close to. He was full-blood Cherokee, and so it's difficult to be with a whole big group of Cherokees and not know what they're talking about. So we're more closer to my mother's side, O-Gah-Pah side. She's O-Gah-Pah Seneca Cayuga, Cordelia Connor. We're related to Pete Clapper. I'm related to Bill Connor. I'm related to the Greenbacks, and also I believe we're related to the Buffaloes.
Excellent. Tell me some of the earliest memories you have when it comes to O-Gah-Pah and growing up around this family of people. What are some of the things that stick out to you that were unique and different about growing up in O-Gah-Pah?
I didn't spend, honestly, a lot of time in O-Gah-Pah. Lived with my grandmother while my dad was in the Air Force. We left there about 61 to go live with him over in the United Kingdom, England. That's where I think I wrote in my military history about being there during the Bay of Pigs. Being around Native Americans at that time, my cousins were probably the only ones we were ever around. And then at that time, we never attended any tribal gatherings that I can remember. I know Sonny mentioned about being upset whenever people were saying you're an Indian, and he wasn't an Indian. He didn't want to be an Indian. I remember saying the exact same thing, playing cowboys and Indians with the kids over in England, and I told him, I says, I want to be the cowboy. I'm not the Indian. I had no idea I was Native American. My mom or my dad did not pass that down to us. My mother was, she had 3 kids. Number 4 came on the way when we moved to England with my dad. And even then, like I said, I had no idea that I was Indian. We had no native artifacts around our house or anything. I barely remember hearing my dad speak Cherokee because he was full-blood Cherokee. And it was just, for me, it was an extremely, extremely difficult time. I was frightened. I was frightened for a long time. I never really got into being, how I want to say, the day-to-day Native person who lives that constant life and attends the dances religiously and all that. I never did that until after I went on my own discovery.
Would you unpack, you mentioned fear. Was it, what were you afraid of when it came to your heritage? Unpack that just a little bit more. What was it about it?
It was, it was just a totally different, we grew up at young amongst all, because Daddy, we stayed on Air Force bases with Daddy. So we were with all different nations, all different nationalities. And so, people would look at us as being Indians, and I knew they thought we were unique, being, the Western Indians, but it scared me to death. It just scared me to death, and I don't know why. Yes, I guess I kind of do. My dad became real forceful about pushing us. And you don't push me, not even being little. You don't push me, because all I'll do is just back off. And that's exactly what I did. Is he would push, I would back off. They would go to dances, Dad, I'll stay home. And so I never got in to, and this was whenever I was like in the 5th, 6th grade. And we lived down in Altus, and a lot of dances to go down in that part of the country, you know, and I just never got into it. Now, Mama made us dresses. I started, you know, I did dance, but I just still wasn't comfortable. And then the older I got, the more, I guess, the older I got, the more that I started to understand, wanting to know for myself, not asking the questions, but discovering the questions that I want to ask myself.
Do you remember that change? Do you remember what was it about you that you suddenly, that switch where you weren't fearful but more curious?
I'm gonna talk about something that happened with me at the O-Gah-Pahs.
Absolutely.
And that's it. And I had one person say, well, you should forget about that. You know, let bygones be bygones. Well, I agree, bygones are bygones, but it is part of my history. But it played a very big part of my youth whenever I was young. Just like here not too recently, the situation with the tribal princesses at the 4th of July General Council, when people were grabbing girls and saying, we want these girls, you know, without thinking about what they're putting these girls through, how they're talking to these girls. I was starting to get into being into the Native American culture. I was starting to get into being O-Gah-Pah. I was asked to go and try to be the princess, and I went, but I didn't know you couldn't be married. I had been married for a short period of time and then was divorced. And I didn't know that you could not become princess at that time. I didn't see any papers or I don't remember signing papers, or nobody asked me, were you ever married, or any of that. And those people, one lady in front of the whole tribe just said, she's spoiled. And that was the end of that. I left that day because I didn't understand. Nobody explained. The tribe did not explain to me these things, which that's why I'm saying this, is because they do not understand, just like those girls during that 4th of July council. They did not understand what was going on. When one of the McKibben ladies came up and talked about Crystal, my niece, well, she was nominated for the princess again, but she was older. Crystal is the best girl you could ever find, and I can tell you what, she's as clean as anybody. Cleaner, probably. But that comment was directed at her, that we don't know what these girls do when they go off to college and blah, blah, blah. They don't understand what that does to somebody who is wanting to get something or become a part of something that's bigger than them. And I wasn't trying to do it for my own glory. I was asked. I never even thought about it. I was asked. And then whenever that happened, I left. I left the tribe. I did not come back. I did not step foot on the grounds because I felt like they didn't want me. I felt like the tribe did not want me. So I wound up going and living with a family, a Johnson family, over in western Oklahoma, in Hammond, Oklahoma. Hammond's got a history. Hammond's got a big history about discrimination. And I think I feel like that I was sent there for a reason, because I learned a lot from I guess it would be the Cheyenne Arapahoes down there, Comanches, Kiowas Comanches over there. And so I got to learn some from them. It wasn't the Quapaws I was learning from. It was another tribe I was learning from, of who they were. Discrimination, I was able to learn about the discrimination that they went through, because I went through it being there. And it just blew my mind that here I had just gone through something with my tribe, and I'm here going through something with these townspeople here. And what happened was, me and the girls would go down to one of the stores, and they would say, we have to go through the back door. I'm sorry, but I grew up with blacks, whites, reds, yellows, you name it. I lived on an Air Force base. We never went through people's back door and stuff. And so I walked through the front door, and the store owner says, you're supposed to go through the back door. And I said, I'm sorry. I says, I don't go through anybody's back door. And he knew I wasn't from there. Those girls got to start going through the front door of that store. I was able to teach them, I think. I think I was sent there to teach them to stand up for themselves. And so to me, that was a blessing. But I stayed with that family for 3 months. Nobody knew where I was at. Sonny was always my savior. Sonny always came looking for me. And so he came and found me and asked me to come home. And I stayed there for a little while longer, and then I finally did come home. And then it was probably, it was, whenever Sonny had Crystal, and I was proud to have a niece, and I knew he was proud to have that daughter, and I got her involved with the Senecas, and that brought me back to the Quapaws. She and Sonny brought me back to the Quapaws, and so I have been coming back for about the last 20 years. I've been coming back to the Quapaws.
How old were you when Sonny came and got you?
About, I think I was like 18.
We're going to hold for 1 second. Let those sirens pass. Are you hearing those voices at all?
Yeah, I heard the voices a little bit of the sirens.
Is that on the other side of the wall? Do you hear that?
I did for a second. You can check.
Are you able to? You're doing wonderful. I want to keep on going. We're just got to make sure those people don't get too loud and they start, because that microphone can pick up almost everything.
Yeah,
So
I understand.
we're
Yeah.
going to unpack a lot more of your story and keep on going with you doing phenomenal. Thank you for sharing. Thank you.
Sirens are gone.
Any luck?
Good. All set there.
Okay. So 18, around the age you started coming back. And that's where you started to shift from, or you at least were a little more open to the culture, a little bit more open to getting to know the culture of Papa, is that correct?
I left at 18. I left after that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Right after. I was off the ground. Didn't want nothing to do with them. Sorry, I didn't want nothing to do with you. And lived with that family. That was like the 4th of July. Went over to that family and stayed with them for 3 months. And it wasn't after that. Whenever I came back, I still wasn't want anything to do with the O-Gah-Pahs. Didn't want anything to do with the O-Gah-Pahs. And I started to go on my own discovery of who I was, starting with the Senecas. And I learned about them because they didn't know me. They had nothing bad to say about me or names to call me, so I felt comfortable with them. And then it was probably after I got in, right before I got into the military, I started doing sweat lodges all the time. And that was just the best feeling to go to a sweat lodge and suffer and pray and all that and be one-on-one with the Creator at that time. And I was in such a quandary about what I wanted to do, what I was, who I was, a lot of questions that I had. And I had contemplated joining the military because of Daddy, and tried to join the Air Force, but just couldn't at the time. And I was 19 then, and I asked to do a sweat by myself and to just stay there, just stay in the sweat and do a fast. It was my own vision quest that I was looking for an answer of what direction should I go in, because I had no idea what direction I was going in. And it was, oh gosh, this was like I was 20, almost 21. And I remember being in there the first day and nothing. And the next day came, and I remember it just got so hot in there from the sun beating down on the roof of the sweat lodge that I laid in the hole where the stones were at, and I just laid there curled up in the fetal position because I was small enough I could fit in the hole, and I had just closed my eyes, and just as I closed my eyes, I had an eagle fly to me carrying the flag. And I knew what the eagle was telling me to do was to join the military. And that's shortly after that I joined the Guard in 78, a long time ago.
For someone that's never been in one, how would you describe the spiritual, emotional impact that a sweat can have on you? For somebody that in their mind is just thinking like, I mean, it's just a hot space. What would you say to somebody with that point of view? What is it about a sweat that is so spiritual, so emotional?
Because it's just you. You have other individuals with you, but you go in as an individual. You're not going in. You might go in as a group, but you're going in as an individual. And everything that you say, you pray, is between you and the Creator in that lodge. That's your sacred space. And the fire, to me, the cleansing of the fire, the sweat that you poured out of your body was just cleaning your whole spirit and your whole mind. And you just come out of it feeling just like a whole new person with a whole new outlook, and everything is so much better for you. And that was the beginning of my discovery of I got to learn more. And so that's when I started coming back shortly after, well, especially after Crystal was born, I really came back to the O-Gah-Pahs.
And so you came back to the O-Gah-Pahs. Do you think emotionally had you forgiven, or maybe things at least, was there reconciliation? Were you still angry at that point? You can't hold, and I'm adult, it's a part of my history that
made me who I am today. The Qualpos helped me make the decision to go into the military. And so it's their honor that what drove me, my honors that I'm able to give back at least to them. But yeah, it was, it's been good.
Walk me through your military career. I'm sure you can't dive too deep into it because it's illustrious, is what I hear. But if you were to give me a summation of the places you went, the things you did, the accolades, everything like that, would you be able to give me some history of your military career?
I graduated in 1980 from officer school as a second lieutenant. At the time, aviation was not a branch. I was asked to go into aviation while I was in officer school. Somebody just said, hey, we've not had a female that's ever been able to pass the test, and they're not nearly as physically fit as you are. Go down and take the test, So I said, okay. Well, there's a lot of math and stuff in it, and math is not my thing at all. But I passed the test. They put me in a front seat, and it was just like, oh my God, I got to fly a helicopter, and I says, okay, I think that this is what I want to do. But I'd listened to that person. And so anytime whenever I would go out and talk to young kids about my experiences and stuff like that, I always just tell them, I says, you listen to the people who are talking to you, because somebody's going to tell you, you can do this. You can do this. And I listened for the first time probably in my life. I listened to somebody, and it just took off from there. And I graduated in 80. Like I said, aviation wasn't a branch. I had to branch medical service corps, which is mainly the administrative part of like an officer administrator for a hospital. That was my branch. And then I got to stay with a unit, an aviation unit. Well, not an aviation unit. I got to train with an aviation unit before I went. But my first assignment was, I was a medical platoon officer, and that was in Oklahoma City at the 23rd Street Armory, which is still there. And anyway, I had a platoon of medics, and it was fun training with them, because you could just think of all kinds of training things to do, like when we would go out to the field and stuff. I'd have all these flashcards for them, and I'd say, give this to so-and-so, whoever, and I says, whatever it has on there, that person has to act this medical condition out, and then you have to treat them. Oh my gosh, they created such havoc with so many senior officers. Like real quick one, they'd laid him out on the dirt, fresh starch BDUs, laid him out on the dirt, unbuttoned his, and everybody that was in the tents behind watching all this, because they knew this guy, and they couldn't believe that they were actually making him do this. And they unlaced he was supposed to be in a heat stroke, unlaced his boots and undid his collar and poured water all over him. And everybody just went, oh my God. And everybody just looked at me, and I says, they did what they're supposed to do. I says, they're in training. I says, nothing you can do about it, but thank you for participating in being a victim for us. And of course, officer got up, and like he was a lieutenant colonel and I was just a first lieutenant or second lieutenant. And he just got up, went into the one of the tents where he was working at, got a Jeep, and went back and changed uniforms. But it was just, fun stuff like that I had with him until I finally got to go to aviation.
And tell me, what was the year that, while you're in the military, are you able to make trips back? Are you still going to powwows? Are you still a part of the O-Gah-Pah tribe at that point? Are you actively?
Not necessarily so much. Not necessarily so much. It was later on, past then, after I went to flight school, actually. At graduation, Jess McKibben came to my graduation at flight school, and he brought a blanket and wrapped me in a blanket, and he said, he told me back then, he said, Vicki, he says, I'm sorry that the tribe did to you what they did. He says, I'm here to tell you, I'm sorry, but we're proud of you, and we want you to have the blanket. And so that was the first sorry that I ever got, which, you don't have to say you're sorry about something that happened that late, but I was okay after that. I was okay. I would have came back probably had not it ever been said. But I just came back as a different person. I've come back now as a warrior.
Let's talk about that. A common theme through a lot of these interviews is that the tribe has had many phases, and it feels like there's been phases of survival, and there's been tragedies and accidents and survival, and there is a feeling that a lot of people are having that there is a new phase that's starting to see a flourishing of people going on to do amazing things with their career, and this being a launch pad in a lot of ways for the tribe and the members of this tribe. And I guess I don't want to put words in your mouth by any means, but do you feel that at all with you being able to go off and have this illustrious career? Do you see the tribe moving into a phase of flourishing and going out and getting careers and doing well and things of that nature?
I've seen the tribe has done a remarkable job as long as the leadership does the right thing. And really, I don't want to say a lot about the leadership. All I want to say is I'm looking straight in the camera at our leadership. Do the right thing. And that's all I'll say about it.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about the powwows and your experiences with the powwows. Obviously, you had a very traumatic experience at 18. Now, when you go to powwows, is your experience different? Is it something that has joy, do you enjoy going to the powwows?
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh, yes. I love to. I can't, you don't see me down here because I can't be out in the heat. I got heat exhaustion, and so I can't be out in the heat. And so, if I walk my dog, I get up at 5:30 in the morning, and we're out before the sun comes up, because once that sun hits me, I'm just red as a beet, and it's just not a fun thing. But I miss that, and whenever I do get to go, inside dances and stuff, I love it.
Describe what a powwow is, the times that you have gone. For someone that's never been there before, how would you describe just the feel of it, the emotion of it, and the drums and everything like that? For someone that's never been there, how do you describe a powwow?
I would probably just say that, you go, if you go down to the tribal grounds and you look down at the very bottom of the stairs and you see the arena and you see the circle and you wonder what that circle is for. And everybody dances one way. And why does everybody dance one way? I never liked squares. I always wanted circles, because circles never end and they don't have sharp corners. And so I just tell people, just listen to that music coming up the hill. You can hear it from the time that you even when you're at the top of the hill, you can hear it coming up that hill, and it's just, I know for me, lately whenever I go walk my dog, I dance with Sonny. And so I'm out there in the woods, and so you can take it. That's something that you can take with you. And those folks that are there to just look to see, to watch us, they take something away. They take something away. They take that sound away, and that sound is not like any other sound that is out there. It's not rock and roll music. It's not country western, and it's not any of that. It is a sacred sound that is just beats with your heart. It's everybody's heartbeat.
You've mentioned Sunny a few times. Would you just, like I've never met him before, who is Sunny?
Sonny is the most honest. He'll tell you what's right. He won't say anything bad about you. He will correct you if you're wrong. He'll tell you what he believes. He'll tell you if he'll support you or not. Sonny is just a unique individual that he's the only person that I've ever known that you can say something to him, and if you say something wrong about somebody, he will not pick it up. He will not discuss it with you. He will not discuss it with you until, in his own mind, he knows that you've done something wrong, and that's the only time. But he sees everybody for who they are first.
You said you still, when you go on your morning walks, you say you dance with him still?
Yeah, I have the last dance that, it was March of last year, when Krista was the head woman dancer there at Springfield. Sonny was out there dancing, and I got video of him dancing. And so every chance I get, whenever I'm walking my dogs out in the woods, I always pull that video up and I dance with him. So I originally wanted that. I originally was watching the bid that they did for his service. And they had it on the website to where, because I don't do Facebook. I don't do Facebook. Never cared for it. Don't want any of that. If you want to know about me, ask me. But I would listen to that until I couldn't get into that because I didn't have a recording. I know what I'm going to do whenever I get home. I'll make my own recording. That way I'll have it on the phone. But I did record him dancing, and so I dance with him every chance I get.
Love that. Just a few last questions, and really talking about the future. When you think about O-Gah-Pah culture and where it's headed, if you had any advice for the future, the next generation, what kind of things do you want them to know? What kind of wisdom would you want to impart on the next generation of O-Gah-Pah culture?
Oh, there's a lot of wisdom that they need to know. There's a lot there's a lot that they need to know that I don't even know, that I can't even, talk about, because I didn't grow up a lot that much into the culture like Sonny did. I was everything that I did was military. When that eagle brought me that flag, that was supposed to be that's what I was told to go and stay concentrated on. And so it wasn't until after I got out of the military really that I really started becoming a lot more involved with the tribe. And, because I was always off flying or off doing something. And so, and a lot of that's really, an excuse too, because nobody has any excuses for not learning about who they are. And so, the military was always my excuse, but I was doing a lot, but I'm a lot better now about learning about who I am.
Are you proud about who you are when you think about your heritage and the lineage? Are you proud of being Quapaw?
Oh, very much so. Very much so. Very much proud of everything that I am.
Why do you think that is?
I think that you grow up at some point in time. You grow up, you learn. You learn your lessons, and either you learn from them or you don't. And I think I learned from mine.
All I need, my voice won't be in the video, so I just need you to say, I'm proud to be Quapaw, in just a full sentence is all I need, if that's okay. Would you mind saying that to me?
I'm proud to be Quapaw.
Perfect. One more time.
I'm proud to be Quapaw.
Perfect. Real quick, any other questions around the room?
I was curious if maybe she could try to re-answer the question on what the next generation, if there was just even one piece that you wanted to
that's
give to
true.
the next generation. Maybe think of Crystal even, who we've talked to before, and she's amazing. But something that you might even say to her, hey, I know you have this great picture of who we are as a people, but here's a special piece just from me, from Vicki. And maybe share that with her.
I tell you what they do, that the one thing that I'm seeing now is the language. Is seeing the language. And before I pass, my hope is to have my prayer that I can say in Quapaw. And so I think what they're doing with the language is the best thing that they could have ever done for the tribe, for any of the tribes, because it keeps us from being extinct. And we'll never be extinct, but it keeps the language from being extinct.
Would you actually describe what they are doing for someone that doesn't know? I mean, are people remembering the language? Are they practicing the language? What's going on in the tribe right now to try to maintain the language?
I'm seeing a lot more of the younger folks participating in and being able to. You hear words. I guess you hear more words from the young people nowadays, and so I'm just proud. I'm just proud that we've been able to grow into who we are now. We've come a long ways, and I just hope that we can continue to grow and continue to teach everybody about our history, about the language. We don't want the language to go away. We want the stories. I would love to hear more stories from the elders, the ancient stories, or the tales, the animal stories and stuff, which I don't have any of those stories. I never grew up with any of those stories. Grew up with the same thing. My cousin, Melissa, grew up with down there at the powwow grounds, the little people and all that stuff, Grew up over there or hung around over there at the spook light, and stuff. But that's, we've got a lot. We have a lot of history that I just hope that somebody younger than me, all the young ones, I've got a grandson that I'm hoping my son will get him into it. I wished I'd have spent more time in trying to get him into it. He has his outfit, and he's been, to the dances and stuff, and everybody has their priorities.
What would you want your grandson to know about your heritage, about his heritage?
I want him to come up here and look at it, and I'd like for him to participate in it. I'm hoping that my son will be able to tell stories about his uncle, Sonny, about how he looked, how he danced, and his Aunt Crystal. And I mean, it's just, my grandson's got a lot of, especially from Crystal, he's got a lot that he can learn from her, and she's got a lot that she can share with him. And so I'm thankful that Sonny stayed here, whereas I didn't stay here. But that's okay, I'm back.
You're back. Last question, thinking about the future. Are you optimistic about the future for O-Gah-Pah? Are you optimistic for the future for your grandson in O-Gah-Pah? You know, when you see people, you just mentioned how proud you are of the people that are, younger people that are taking ownership and learning the language, and you're starting to see this flourishment happening. Are you optimistic about the future of O-Gah-Pah?
I don't see why anybody is not optimistic. I mean, there's just so much that is happening that you can't help but being proud with all the programs, with how they're helping the elders and keeping our young children, you know, they're keeping our young children safe and all the services that they're able to provide. You know, I send in my utility bills to them on the application and always write thank you. I'm just thankful that they've been able to have enough to share with everybody and that everybody is able to participate.
Well said. Is there anything else you want to talk about?
I'm not really. I mean, there's so much in my military career and stuff, and you know, one story you'll read in the Post will be about I had my first assignment being the medical platoon leader. I show up and hear their first female lieutenant, you know, showing up. And of course, you know, I never was shy about saying much to them. And I had some African-American young men leave the post without letting anybody know. And of course, at that time, being a fresh butter bar, I'm wanting to know where all my people are because I'm responsible for them. If they get hurt, I have to answer for it. Nobody could find these two. Well, apparently their past commander allowed them to go get their ICs or whatever anytime that they wanted to, just leave without telling anybody. They come strolling back to the armory with their beverages, and I'm going, I told my first sergeant, I says, I need to talk to these folks here. And so I get them in there, and they're wanting to be smart, you know, smart with me. And I said, where were you? And they told me where they went. And I says, well, you understand that you left your post without telling anybody. And of course, they immediately got defensive, you know, smart officer being smarty to us, you know. And so I just told him, I says, you understand that I'm responsible for you. Had anything happened to you from the time that you left here to go to that store, you could have had something happen. I would have been responsible for you. Well, our past commander didn't care. He let us do that. And I says, I'm not your past commander. I says, I'm your commander now. And I says, I'm telling you, you will not do that. Oh, well, so you just want to discriminate against us. Oh, you just want, I said, excuse me, you want to talk about discrimination? Do you really want to talk about discrimination? That's really all I had to say, because I was female, I was Native American. I could talk discrimination as long as they wanted to, but they didn't. And from then on, we had an understanding. They turned out to be two of my best soldiers, and even to this day, if I see one of them, they just come up and hug me because, you know, I did them all right. They just had to understand where I was.
would you mind giving us just a quick list of your accolades when it comes to some of the things that you're most proud of in the military, some of the medals, awards, anything that you have accomplished in your military career? Just give me a laundry list of them that you have.
Oh, mercy. Let's see. Flight school. Flight school probably is the biggest accomplishment, and that was in September. I graduated in September of '82 from Fort Rucker, Alabama, flight school. And at that time, I was the 116th female to have graduated in the, I think it's 5 or 6 years, maybe. Maybe it was like a 10-year period since they had allowed females to go to aviation school. And so there weren't very many, even in my class. And so that's probably my biggest accomplishment. Besides, of course, receiving my commission in the military. My awards and decorations run from meritorious service to good conduct, as whenever I was enlisted for a short while. But I think meritorious service is probably my highest award that I've received in my service time. I was nominated and was the Oklahoma Woman Veteran of the Year back in 2011 by the Oklahoma Women's Veterans Organization, which is a really big organization, women's veterans organization here in Oklahoma. And probably, other than that, I could probably think of some more, but those are probably the biggest ones that come to mind. It's hard I've always found it hard to talk about the things that I've done and stuff, because I know that I'm unique. I know that I'm unique in a lot of ways, but none of it was ever done for my glory. I never did it because, I'm going to get all these accolades from it. I did it because I could, and it was fun at the time. And so I was just lucky being at the right place at the right time in a lot of places.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. That was a wonderful interview. Thank you for your time. That was fantastic. Watch your head as you get up.